Hi, YouTube family. It's Daughter of the Most High. What you are looking at is the YouTube audio version of this book, Thanks for the Memories, by MK Ultra Mind Control slave Susan Ford, also known as Bryce Taylor. And I listened to another hour of this book today, and there's about 9 minutes that I want to play for you. And this section of her book is called Genetic Engineering, and it's something that they have been doing since the 1940s. And so this has been quite a few decades now that this has been something that they have been working on, interested in working on, and moving towards behind the scenes since then, 80 years ago. So it's pretty shocking, and she shares about it. This book seems to be read by I'm not even sure what you call it. It's not a real person like some people will read an audiobook. That's not it. It's like automated. And so you'll hear it's a very pleasant voice, but it's kind of robotic. And when she gets done with a page and she goes to the top of the page, the next page, she reads the page number and the title again before continuing with the paragraph. So don't let that throw you, because she does it on every page. So we're going to listen to 9 minutes of it here, a section called Genetic Engineering. And it's pretty shocking, so I wanted to share it with you. So here it is.
Genetic engineering. Soon after I had finished breastfeeding Kelly in 1979, I continued to have severe pain in my female reproductive organs that no one seemed to be able to help me with or understand the origin of. Dr. Galloway, the doctor that delivered Kelly, admitted me to Valley Presbyterian Hospital in Van Nuys, California. Late in the day I was assigned a hospital bed and understood that my doctor had ordered a D and C for me. He explained that this was standard operating procedure. Later on, I was taken into surgery, a mask was put over my face, and I was anesthetized with some sort of gas. It was nighttime when they performed this procedure on me that wasn't a real D and C. They really took my ovum for in vitro fertilization with other genetic strains. Ideal genes, from healthy stock, they said. I cannot identify the doctors who were doing this to me. Before I became pregnant with Kevin, they had taken other ovum during times when I was previously hospitalized for so-called surgery. They thought I couldn't hear, but I could hear and see what they were doing. I was out of body and could hear and see everything they did. Their perception of reality seemed to be limited to the physical world. They didn't yet understand that a person could be out of body, that it is possible to take your consciousness out of your body to see and experience events in other locations. While my body was lying on the operating table under anesthesia, from my out-of-body position overhead, I could see their side of the table with equipment they used to take my ovum and a special dish with a special solution that they used to put the ovum in. Immediately upon placement of the ovum into the dish, a nurse came in and quickly took it away somewhere. This is genetic engineering. These people do this a lot. They steal women's ovum to experiment on. They take good genetic stock. This is why, later on, I wanted a hysterectomy. Subconsciously, I wanted to stop what they were doing. I recorded in my memory files what I overheard the doctor say that night in the operating room. Her children by her husband are inferior to those created here. We can team this ovum up with superior sperm to create a superior genus. These children will one day rule the world and we will be able to weed out the weaker genetic strains. Room must be made for this advanced race. The plan has been carefully orchestrated. It will come about with our strains and leadership. We have chosen the genetic strains of leaders, those whose drive is to lead, and to that end we have strained in health, intellect, and leadership qualities. These children will be raised in isolation, like the leaders in the shadows, and will be taught advanced skills from birth: meditation, diet, emotion modulation, and will be fed a strict diet of higher knowledge. The rulers of the future will be elite in every way, shape and form. We have spliced her genetic health and intellect strains with those perfect physical forms of the intellect donor to create the perfect species, both male and female. These strains will rise to the top. The forms will be so advanced that the normal human species will not be able to compete, and so ours will be the elite, the ruling class, and the lower forms will be the so-called worker bees. There is no way the normal man can compete. Ours is the elite. We will soon have enough of our people grown and implanted with our direction and our wisdom, and now that we know how to program their minds from birth, we will have total and complete control. They will be ours, a race, a genus we can be proud of, created from the best genetic structure on Earth. They said, the future on Earth belongs to the scientists. It is time we weed out the inferior races. Under the direction of my doctors, I mindlessly and compulsively charted a graph of my temperature to know when I was ovulating. Now I understand why that was so important. They even did 222, an experiment of combining my genes with those of my husband's best friend and colleague. On one occasion, while he was performing so-called oral surgery, while I was under anesthetic, they had him mount me to impregnate me. Then, I was instructed to report to UCLA where they took the sperm-fertilized egg from my uterus. They compared which genetic structure was superior, between those created in vitro and those created by a natural union and then taken from the body to mature. This determination to create a superior race is, as you may remember, the same drive that fueled Hitler's regime in Germany. One needs only to read Linda Hunt's book, Secret Agenda, the United States Government, Nazi Scientists, and Project Paperclip, and then visit the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., in order to put two and two together. If you observe some of the pictures of innocent people in the concentration camps as they are being used for brain and behavior experimentation, it's easy to ascertain that more was occurring than just the torture of innocent Jewish people for religious or racial purposes. This experimentation was also done intentionally in order to further the understanding of the mind and body, and how people could be controlled. We as a people have not fully embraced the reality of the horrors in Germany that were perpetrated on victims there, and to that end we allow it to continue to the present, as those who should have been prosecuted for their war crimes often went free. As a matter of fact, through Project Paperclip, many were brought to our country by the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, which was our own intelligence apparatus at the time. They were placed in our major universities and hospitals to continue their unconscionable scientific research. It was through the invaluable wizardry of one of these Project Paperclip Nazis, General Reinhard Gehlen, German intelligence specialist, that our fledgling CIA came into being just after World War II, and the Cold War was born. Len Horowitz, in his book Emerging Viruses, AIDS and Ebola, Nature, Accident or Intentional, points to a linkage between Henry Kissinger and General Alexander Bolling. He mentions that General Bolling played a major role in Project Paperclip as well as the Joint Intelligence Committee, a newly formed administrative unit that recruited former Nazi scientists expert in mind control. Their combined research activity soon led to classified projects that paved the way for the CIA's Project Culture. Horowitz also links Kissinger to oversight of Project Naomi, a military program to develop biological weapons having genocidal application. The Rockefellers, who spearheaded a national eugenics movement, supported research activities of similar nature to Project Culture and Naomi through their pre-WW2 funding of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute, whose director was, at one time, Joseph Mengel's superior. As you may remember, Mengel conducted horrific medical experiments at Auschwitz, many that were related to mind control. All of these facts are discussed in Horowitz's meticulously documented work. From reading I did after I reintegrated and deprogrammed, I began to understand that the newly created CIA and the Rockefellers, with all of their money and foundations, carefully researched and hired top former Nazi scientists to carry on their personal belief in creating a master, Aryan, race. They are doing so through mind control experimentation and genetics research in systems within the confines of carefully whitewashed hospital or university research facilities, not to mention military bases. The Holocaust has not ended, it has just gone underground. and the victims are silent due to the mind control they have been put under. I believe these scientists have fallen short in their understanding that, while the physical, genetic structure a baby is born with is very important, God in his perfection has patterned a life for this child. When this is altered by human intervention, it no longer can serve the highest purpose for the child's lifetime. It is not just the physical structure that rules the life of a child. A soul is born into the body, and if left to the natural order of God in his infinite wisdom, there is a higher agenda and purpose to be accomplished. How can man in his finite wisdom begin to believe that he can out-create the Creator? I, 223, don't believe that physical perfection is the main goal here. Scientists will forever be lost in their own egos until they realize the absolute divine and perfective nature of God. Dental office money laundering schemes. Arnold Stengel was...
So that was a portion of the audio book, Thanks for the Memories, from Mind Control Slave, MK Ultra Mind Control Slave, Susan Ford. And I just encourage you, if you have the time, to listen to, or you could get her book. I think it's pretty expensive on Amazon, so you can listen to the audiobook free. And I usually listen to like a half hour or 45 minutes at a time. Now, again, as I shared, I had to put this down as I did Transformation of America by Kathy O'Brien, just because the information, I'll listen for 2, 3, 4 days, and then I've just got to put it down because it's so shocking, the evil that goes on behind the scenes. And this has been going on for so long, and they're trying to create this superior race, and it's just shocking to me. And so I'm not sure how this will play out in the near future. We know that we are very much in the end times, and apparently there's these mind control slaves that are genetically superior. It's shocking. It's like, are they real people? Their soul should still be in there, but they've completely taken over the person's mind. And from the time of infancy, Susan Ford's children, Kevin and I believe it's Kelly, they began traumatizing her kids at a very young age, just so they could break that, the personality, and break the will down, and start. What happens is when that infant is traumatized, that they start disassociating with the trauma, which is how the compartments of the brain, which are, dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality disorder. It's the way that the brain fragments and compartmentalizes so that you can leave the situation in your mind. I don't know how that works other than just what I said, but it is, it's actually a good thing, and it's actually a self-preservation thing when babies and children and adults are able to do this, so that they can, at least on some level, not be present for the trauma. And so we as the body of Christ need to be aware that these people exist and have for some time. Susan Ford also talks about various celebrities that are mind control slaves, and it's shocking. I don't know if it's clear with my camera on the cover of, I don't know if this is the cover of her book or what this picture is, because I've not seen the book. I think it is the cover of the book, but I'm not sure. That they show various celebrities like the Kennedys, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Henry Kissinger, Bob Hope, Barbra Streisand, Michael Jackson, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Sylvester Stallone, Elvis, George Bush, Princess Di, Charles, various people that now in her book, she reports that various people like Elvis, Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, who else did she say? Oh, I can't remember because I listened. Oh, Neil Diamond for sure, were actually mind control slaves. And even as performers, I mean, I'm not kidding you. This book is so shocking and so eye opening, the things that have gone on. And you can tell when I share a video about this that every single time I'm speaking with such emphasis because I cannot believe this stuff goes on behind the scenes. So I am going to listen to her book in its entirety. And I'm also, she mentioned a book, and I wrote it down. Linda Hunt. She said, she mentioned in this 9-minute clip that I just shared with you, Linda Hunt's book. I think it said Secret Agenda, U.S. Government and Project Paperclip. And that's just one of them. Then there's the other book that I need to get, which is, oh, I don't even know where I put the little piece of paper. It was something Pawns. And I forgot who it's by, but I can look it up. And so I just write these on my little, like these little pieces of paper. And sometimes I lose track of some of them because I listen to so many different like videos and things like that. But I want to get that Pawns book. And it was actually Ted Gunderson that said that that was one of the best, most thorough and detailed books about the Illuminati. And so I definitely want to get that book, and then I want to get this other one. I'll probably order it this weekend on Amazon, Linda Hunt's book, if it's on there. So again, I am just sharing with you the path that God has had me on for a while now, and just opening my eyes to the amount of corruption behind the scenes, corruption and evil with human life. And so there's that part of it, just for our frame of reference to understand. Well, you can sure tell when the Bible calls people wicked. Man, oh man. When I was a new believer or newer believer, in my 20s, and it used to say the wicked and the wicked. And I used to think, okay, I know people are bad, God. I mean, my own dad was an abusive alcoholic, but wicked. And when you find out about some of the things that go on, the way people treat other people, MK Ultra, the Holocaust, the abuse, factory farming, all the stuff that goes on, no wonder God uses the word wicked, because humans truly are greedy monsters. That's the core of it. And they're wicked in their ways to get what they want, to make a buck, to create a world that they actually believe they're creating this higher race, this, by, you can tell Satan has their soul when they actually do this stuff. This is actually the hands and feet of the enemy in these people's lives, and twisting up their thinking so that they can create this superior race, and genetically modified humans and all that kind of stuff. And that's just the enemy just rolling and laughing. And these people actually think, they really do. I said that in my last video. These people actually think they're friends of Satan, like the Illuminati and stuff. They actually think that like they're buddies with Satan and going to spend eternity with him. It's like, are you kidding me? He's going to laugh in your face. He hates believers. He hates God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, and he hates his own followers. So it's wake up time, people. Yeah, and they don't see it. So anyway, just wanted to share some of this information with you, and I'll continue to share as I go, and just see where this, leads me as far as what God has for me. But I think the awareness, other than just, we want to have like an accurate and detailed frame of reference. Do you know how many believers don't know this stuff goes on. And these books have been out. I don't know what year Susan Ford wrote her book or when Kathy O'Brien wrote her book, and these videos are on YouTube. This information's out there. I didn't know about it. I didn't know about it till it crossed my path, 2, 3 months ago, and I've been reading it and following it and listening. This word needs to get out, and I mean from our pulpits. And people need to understand, as part of the end time army, that we are going to be dealing with people that aren't like the average person. They're mind controlled people. And remember when I shared about the Black Awakening, those soldiers that are just ready for the word go, and they just are going to go around slaughtering people as soon as they get the word? Those are mind control slaves. And I think it's important for us to be aware of that, so that when we encounter this, now I can't even picture that. I mean, I'm used to everyday normal life. Now 2020 has not been normal, but it's still semi-normal, and it's nothing compared to what's ahead of us. So God's just going to have to help us to know what to do as we move forward. We're not going to wait. God will have his hand on us. We will be under his wing, but we are also not completely protected from everything. No believer has been. I mean, when you look at the deaths of the disciples, hung upside down, whipped and beaten and everything else. I mean, we are not exempt from everything. We know that as believers. And God will help us and protect us. And I believe he was there for each of the disciples and the martyrs and different people along the way. But there's still some going through. God doesn't cover it all for us. I wish he would. I do. But there's a certain amount of going through that we have to do. But we also know that God is with us and loves us and protects us. And we are not the focus of his wrath by any stretch. It is the unbelievers and the wicked of the world. Now, there's unbelievers and there's wicked unbelievers, but both are lost. So, anyway, YouTube fam, that's what I have for you today. Just wanted to share about this genetic engineering that's been going on for a long time, and just to build more awareness. So, it is late Friday night, and I am so happy it's the weekend. So maybe I'll see you later this weekend if God puts something else on my heart. Otherwise, be blessed and be safe and have a wonderful weekend.